It has been the longest off-season of SRA. The rust has been wiped off and the cars are revved up and ready to go. Welcome to SRA.
We're off and away for SRA.
And good evening, racing fans, and welcome to our Season 8, guys. It's been a bit. We have been a little extended break, I'd say, since Season 7. Got everybody a little bit more hyped up for Season 8, our biggest season yet. And we're starting tonight, round 1 tonight here at Zandvoort. Will be our first track for today. For this season. And I'd like to bring in Adam as our co-host. Adam, welcome to tonight's stream.
Hi, Raph. Great to be here and great to be representing SRA for this D4 broadcast.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have some fun. As we know, we don't want to take too much of your time talking as much. We want to get the racing going. Folks have just finished their driver's briefing, their little quick practice, getting their nerves out a little bit. And before we head into the stream itself, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to our track map for those who might not be familiar with Zandvoort, but I'm pretty sure most of you are. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at our track map. Right over here, Zandvoort round 1. It is in the Netherlands. Maybe trouble there pronouncing, but it's just about 4.2 kilometers, 2.6 miles long, 14 turns in total. Very technical track, hard to find a place to overtake. Need to practically basically out of turn 14 here, as you see on our picture. It's if you don't get a good exit out of that turn, as you can see, the entire track is basically almost impossible to do a clean overtake, I'd say. So we're gonna have some fun here. Qualifying is gonna be crucial for all the drivers. The further ahead you start, most likely the further ahead you will finish, of course. Try to fend off anybody trying to overtake you, and trying to overtake somebody is going to be tough, as we see. But that being said, let's switch over to our race broadcast. It's been a while. Let's go ahead and move that right over. As you can see, just finish up the free practice session. We have a total of 38 drivers here tonight. So Division 4, of course, we have a lot of people, a lot of folks coming back. Some folks moved up quite a bit divisions, maybe some moved a little bit down. SRA is constantly tweaking our SRA rating system, and we should have some pretty close racing here tonight, I'll tell you that. But let's go ahead and switch this over to a better camera. I'm just sitting here in our pits, get somebody that's out on the track while we get the things going. Oh, and just far enough. Qualifying is ready to get started, folks. So for you guys not might be familiar with our qualifying, we are going to have basically, there is total of 20 minutes of qualifying, but you see about 20 minutes and 46 seconds up on the top of your screen. And the way that works, silver drivers will go out first for about 10 minutes, get their laps in. 10 minutes afterwards, gold drivers will go ahead and get their laps in. And we'll go from there. Otherwise, we'll have a very busy track for qualifying, especially somewhere this short as Zandvoort. But yeah, we're about to get things started, folks. And then if you guys are just joining us tonight, welcome back from last season. As you can see, a couple of things just to mention, as we can see right now at this moment, this should be taken care of next week once all the drivers get their liveries updated. Again, ACC is not the greatest sim when it comes to livery sharing and all, but seems like I got most of them tonight to show off on the stream. I'm pretty sure we'll get things worked out by next stream if anybody did not upload their liveries for us to sync with. But in any case, there we go. Silver drivers are heading out for their first qualifying laps. Out laps, so to speak. Leading by Mr. Spacebreaker, Monty Spacebreaker, on his McLaren. Checking on the chat, we have a couple activity. Of saying, looks like somebody's calling Sweeney a bum. And Sweeney is here tonight on the track, so it must be one of his close friends. Oh, man. A couple of drivers we see from previous seasons. I know Mr. Cockcroft is also back. I mean, Jess Osborne himself, our broadcaster manager on his Porsche. We have Selena Boonstra, who I've streamed with as well before on Division 2. Quite a Mr. White's Carver as well here in Division 4. A couple names I'm familiar with. We have also Andy Berg on his McLaren. I know him personally. Boysenot. We have Katavkar. We have a couple of other guys here. Do-Right, actually, did quite well yesterday on our practice session. We have a name Friday as well. It's Chris Sweeney. We have Q Master, Corey Nesbitt. Excuse me, Corey Nesbitt. Couldn't pronounce his name. And a couple other drivers. We have some fun, guys. We're gonna have some fun. And interestingly enough, my scene switch had switched over to our track view, and I got that taken care of now for you folks. So just give it just a second. The qualifying is about to start, so we didn't miss anything. We're good. Following Jess Osborne right now for his first flying lap. And see how well he does. Again, it's going to take about 2 to 3 laps to get everything up to temperature to get your best lap in. But again, you have about 10 minutes to do so. So don't waste that time. Folks on chat checking, we have Andy Berg actually taking place on the race tonight, asking to predict the pole time. I mean, that's going to be interesting. I mean, so to speak, I would probably say, I'd say maybe a 35.8. What do you think, Adam? What do you think these guys are going to be doing tonight? This is Division 4, and 35.8 is pretty quick. So,
yeah, I think that is pretty quick, and they've had a decent amount of practice leading up to this, and probably a full week. We'll see if they've gone try hard or if they're a little bit soft this first week. Definitely, probably a few different approaches throughout the field to this. But as you mentioned before, qualifying is going to be absolutely essential, as hard as it is to pass here.
Yeah, I mean, taking a look at the track map on your right-hand side of your screen, you can see it's basically one of the toughest tracks to overtake. I mean, that's straight, which is your starting where you cross the finish line. You need to come out absolutely glued in front of somebody and get enough, just enough your car ahead to challenge for turn 1, but then your driver defending, you tend to take that inside line anyways because you know something's about to happen. So it's tough. I mean, it's tough, not gonna lie. So
yeah, absolutely. Always a game of chess coming off the final corner out of that straight, and always a bit of drafting play and stuff coming down that front straight into the braking zone.
Now, a couple of first lap times are coming up, by the way. And currently we have Adams with that lead with a 36.562, so getting his tires warmed up. I'm sure we'll see some improvement. As you can see on your screen, the silver drivers are out there putting their lap times. We'll eventually see the D4 Gold drivers out there with their times. And by the way, Wong, second spot for the moment, just about 200ths of a second behind Adams. So we have Do-Right with that third spot so far, 36.795, and we have Selena Boonstra with that fourth spot. Who, by the way, and I'm sure she still does. She races with a controller, Adam, just so you know. I don't know how she does it. I have no idea. I would be
incredible. Much respect.
You gotta. You use a controller to drive, and this isn't your need for speed, as we know, and it's really tough to get that finesse, try to get your car driving in, and she still managed to do it. So definitely give her props for that.
Definitely, I give her props for completing a single lap with a controller, much less being competitive.
Taking a look at the chat here, somebody's mentioned that Adam's volume mix a lot lower than yours, Raph. Let's bring that up, see what's going on.
Fortunately, that can be fixed.
Yep. We'll get that raised up on my end here in just a second. Bring that up. up a bit here. And guys on the chat, let us know how it goes. If it's too low, too high. Bring that up one more time if I need to. There we go. Folks are starting their second lap already. Excuse me, I already put 2 laps in. Wong has taken that lead again. We're talking about earlier. What are we looking for? Pole, and Wong, actually with his Lamborghini, has put in a great time, 35.842 on his Lambo. So great looking livery here for Wong. It looks like that might actually be missing, even though it's missing the livery itself. The game itself livery is actually a pretty nice color combo. Quite a few drivers having an improvement on their deltas, so we might see quite a bit of shuffling just as they finish their laps and they get their tires warmed up and proper, again, PSI. It takes roughly about 2 to 3 laps to get things after the 1.9 update ACC came out with.
It'll be interesting to see the propagation of different manufacturers throughout the field too. I see we have a pretty healthy scattering of Porsches and BMWs, and of course the Lamborghini of Wong at the top currently. And it'll be interesting to see if the Porsches actually have a little bit of an advantage with that extra rear grip provided by their engine configuration.
Yeah, you're right. Looks like the rear engines, especially. I mean, Wong has that lead. We do have 2 AMGs up top, though. We have Watson lead, 3rd and 4th, so they're bringing in that front engine power up there. But we have Osborne 6th, Adam 7th, Boomstrand 8th. 3 Porsches we talked about, and yeah, it's quite mixed, I would say. But just like to see Watson lead there with their front engine, just kind of like ahead of everybody else. And then we have Rose all the way down in 15th at the time. That's the next front engine car of the whole silver field so far. So
and just above Rose in the standings, 14th, Wicks. Wicks just appears to be a rogue pair of set of 4 Pirelli tires racing around the track without a car.
It could have been maybe a connection issue at the moment. Hopefully he makes his way back.
Yeah, possibly.
That
maybe
well.
A livery change.
Could be. Could be. Take a look at the chat. Nacho Donkey's asking, where are the AMRs? You know, that is a very good question. I think that was like 2 seasons ago, Nacho. AMRs are, you know, out. The replacement, this seems to be McLaren. Everybody's with a McLaren. They've never seen this many 720s on the field. Again, the new Evo upgrade, so it's a great car all around for all the tracks. So it's almost like the AMRs are gone, McLarens are in. You always have your Porsches. You have a couple of, you know, Lamborghinis weren't used that often before either, so. And it's like an extremely quick car if you know how to drive it. But it's quite mixed. At least we don't see that Ferrari 296 field of last season. Everybody was driving that car, so.
How the tables have turned. Only 2 Ferraris and only 1 AMR in the field this time.
And taking a look here, Jez mentioned that we can't see his livery. Yeah, you're right, Jez. I was not able to see your livery. I do see Selena's. And I did sync it before I joined the server too, so it could be maybe a server issue as far as syncing goes. I'm sure you had that taken care of, but, you know, we'll see what happens next week, but it's all synced on our end here. And by the way, Do-Right, we talked about, he had a great practice race last night. He's actually got that pole, 35.730. He was talking, saying that he had a lot of time to practice for, you know, this track, so to speak, but he's not that good. And I love when people say that. Eventually, they just start killing every track. All of a sudden, they're like, I'm not that great, but then you're completely killing it. So he's so far with that pole, best sectors 1 and 2, so. Just about to hit that 10-minute mark on qualifying where the Silvers have their last lap. They need to cross that finish line before that 10-minute mark to start another lap. Otherwise, it will not count. Looks like Silver's pretty much set from the looks of the current deltas I see on track. But Harold, who's coming 13th, has a little bit of an improvement for this lap. He's about a second from the leader. If he keeps that up, he might jump maybe 1 or 2 spots from 13th, might take him over to maybe 10th. And we'll keep an eye on his lap. It's going to switch over to Helicam a bit. Again, unfortunately, some liveries did not show up for tonight's event. I'm sure we get that sorted out for next week at Circuit of the Americas. Harold still keeping up that delta. Might have lost a little bit of time. Might be enough to take that 12th spot from Hackshaw. And we'll take a look as he crosses. And yep, he does. Moves up to 12th. So takes that 12th spot. Hackshaw goes down to 13th. Now we're going to go focus on the gold drivers, folks. Oh, excuse me, actually. Forgot there's one more track left here. Friday with a heck of a lap. He might be jumping a few spots here as he crosses the line. He goes from 21st to 18th. So a great lap there to finish off his qualifying session. And now taking a look at the gold drivers who are out on the track. Looks like who is leading that field. Let's take a look here out of the gold drivers. Looks like Rodriguez on his Porsche leading that. He will be starting his lap. So 10 minutes left. Track is a little bit more rubbered in, you would say so. And again, the gold drivers do have a little bit more pace than silver, just a bit. Sometimes not even. So silver drivers are extremely quick, and this might be a mixed grid. So, and we talked about earlier, it's very crucial to have a good qualifying session here as it. And looks like we figured out here on the chat, Jess saying it was his fault. He did join with the wrong livery. We're going to switch back to his livery really quickly and switch back to Rodriguez. Let's see, what does he have now? And it looks better. Looks like we got that livery settled in, at least from the heli view. Should see your nice looking livery then. All right, let's switch back over to Rodriguez, who's got that leading the D4 gold pack. Nixon Wong, rest in peace. Turn 11 curb got me. I got 2 more tenths in me. Yeah, you know, turn 11, I know what you're talking about. You hit that the wrong way, and then your car goes basically all over the place, and there goes your time. Unfortunately, it happens. When we try to get that extra second, extra few tenths, and then you end up losing a whole second because of it. That's racing for you. Try to find that fine line, keeping your car without getting all crazy on the track. Rodriguez looks like he's having a pretty decent first lap. He's about to go through that last 2 turns, turn 14 coming up. Takes that inside curve quite well. Knows to keep that within the track limits. Pretty good looking livery here for Rodriguez. Let's see what he crosses with. And first lap does a 36.630, so right in the middle of the silvers there. Pretty good, decent first lap for Rodriguez.
Definitely not bad. Only 9 tenths off lead silver position so far.
Say consider that's your first lap. Your tires are not really up to, their best working temp and pressure. It's say pretty good. Drivers are putting in again their laps, and a couple of other drivers really crossing it. Still following Rodriguez around, looking for a few other drivers that might improve on their deltas. Andy Berg, by the way, and he had a great practice session last night. Extremely quick. He's already put his first lap. He's all the way up to 3rd. That's a 35.937. That's a heck of a lap. Put in the best second sector of the session on his first lap. As far as I know, also the prediction for Jeffries was that actually had Berg winning the race on the gold, so we keep an eye out for him. He's got some really good pace here at Zandvoort. Gold Vision confirmed as wash. I'm sure that's Jess is just calling out the golds. You keep that up. It's only first lap, Jess. I mean, you keep that up. We'll see what happens. You're going to start dropping those positions really quick. But, hey, so far you got that. Well, I was going to say P10, and then all of a sudden P11. So you keep an eye on that. And Berg had some traffic on this lap. He was not able to overtake, as we know. You cannot overtake during qualifying unless you get of course, the driver ahead of you moves out of the way. And now he does have another lap to start with directly behind him. We have Nesbitt, who's also putting his lap, and he's currently sitting in 19th. And crosses the line, moves up to 13th spot. And I actually know Nesbitt as well. Corey, doesn't spend much time on ACC, as you know, and he decides to join us for this season. And you know, when you're pretty good at racing, you pretty much translate to anything. He had barely any practice at all, and just kind of doing some pretty good laps. So you got to give him props for that too. He's more of an iRacing type of guy, and he's given a try here at ACC with us.
Yeah, I believe his only prior experience was the Watkins Glen Endurance, possibly 2 years ago now? Last year or 2 years ago?
Last year? Yeah, last year it was actually, we were teammates with you, and I believe myself, Berg, and there's actually somebody that is not taking part on the race tonight, was actually on that Watkins Glen Endurance event. That was super fun. We should have one in September, and that's going to be super fun. It's always fun, Watkins Glen, so. Speaking of Rodriguez, again, I had that really, really good first lap. He's already put his Porsche up to 4th. So right behind Berg. Again, 3 drivers on the 35s here. We have Durite with that 730 for the pole. Wong with that 2nd spot, and then Berg currently in 3rd. He's not able to get a good 3rd lap as well. Looks like he's dropped a little bit on his delta, but still holding on strong to that 3rd. Looks like it's all mixed up here when you take a look at 1 through, everybody's mixed up. Silvers and golds all over the place, so maybe what Jess did say might be true. I mean, he's calling out the gold drivers here. Taking a look also, P17 Sweeney, who didn't have a great first lap, was not able to put something together, but put in a good lap afterwards, and now he's putting a great lap. He's about almost half a second over his own time. That would shoot him a lot of positions. Grid is really tight all the way through P23rd. It's within a second of each other, so this is oof.
Yeah, absolutely. And something else I want to keep an eye on throughout this race, throughout this qualifying session, is where the different strengths, the different cars are. We see Rodriguez, if we look at the first sector time, is actually 3/10 faster than Berg through the first sector, and then we see it flip for Berg in the second sector. Is 3.5 faster than Rodriguez through there, and we could very well attribute that to different varying grip levels from the front to the rear between the 2 cars.
Yeah, especially we always talk about the Porsche being, a special car, so to speak, but the way you drive it might benefit them during the first sector, but again, second, not as much. And we're talking about this earlier. Sweeney actually put his car in 3rd spot and actually sent Berg down to 4th with a 35.877. And that was a heck of a lap. I knew he was improving that lap, but I know he actually had lost some time on sector 2, so he could technically improve and challenge for the lead, for the pole, excuse me. So he's putting his car way up there. Great lap from him. Switch over to Ruzic on his Lamborghini. Unfortunately, no livery tonight. Hopefully that's taken care of next week. He's got a great lap coming through as well. He's improving 200ths of a second, and that would shoot him, could potentially shoot him all the way to P4. Challenge Berg for that P4 position. We do have about 32 seconds left, folks. And yeah, pretty mixed grid here. Jess might be right, calling all the gold drivers washed. Now, he did drop the P18, so it wasn't that bad. So our SR rating is working quite well, sir. It's working quite well. All right, Ruzic with a heck of a lap, about to go here. Lost a little bit of time, could jump a few spots. P8 to P5. Heck of a jump there. Again, very close to one another. We also have Andrew coming through, currently P10, about to cross the line. P7, again, just a few tenths ahead, and I was able to gain a massive amount of time. We're going to keep an eye on Berg, who's currently P4, coming in out of that last turn. Might challenge Sweeney for that P3. Might improve, and Oof, not enough for that. And unfortunately, he will stick with that P4, swing with that P3, so great for those folks. Cockcroft is still on his flying lap. He's got a pretty good improvement here. He's actually jumped a lot of positions if he can keep that delta up, almost half a second. Oh, and he binned it right at the end on that grass. Oh, Pat, if that was me, you know, commentator's curse, I apologize. You know, decided to focus on you. He hit the grass. That is my fault. I will take blame for it.
I'll let you take blame for that. I nearly said something about it, but since you did, we'll let you hold the blame for that. But yeah, absolutely, it was on its air, nearly half a second up before losing it there.
It's unfortunate, but it happens. You know, keep it together on the race. You know, that's one thing about in the race. You want to keep it consistent throughout. It's not about being the fastest, but consistent all around it. If you're able to do that, maybe other drivers are not, and then you end up gaining a few positions. Reynolds crossing the line. P22 to P17. What a huge jump, and he was just about 200ths of a second over that. Wow. Again, very close grid, all the way to P24, are basically within a second of each other. So, wow. Great qualifying session for you guys. And Do Right end up with that pole. And Wong and then Sweeney and Berg. And we have Ruzick, Maxwell, Andrew, Rodriguez, Watts, and Lee for the 10. Top 10 here in qualifying. We got about 2 minutes left again to get our formation lap going. It is a full formation lap if you're just joining us. And let's take a look at some of the liveries. I know we cannot, unfortunately, see all liveries, but we're going to switch up the camera here, big guys. And give it me a second. Oh, not this one. We are switching here. All right, folks, so I'm going to switch over to Do Right at the front. There we go. That's better. And that way we can exit out of the car. Let's do a little bit of a... turn this around. And Mr. Do Right with that lead brought his McLaren up top. Wong, again, not too far back with his Lamborghini. And then we have Sweeney on your left, P3 and Berg, so second row. Great friends here battling for position P3 and P4. Ruzick. We have Maxwell on your right-hand side. We have Andrew. So you see a couple of nice liveries coming up. Rodriguez on your right. We have Watts and Lee. Looks like teammates right over here. It looks really nice. Great looking livery. A bunch of pandas. I like it. Really, really good. Yeah, Daniels, and we have Nesbitt, not too far back, P12. We have Boomster at P13. We have Gino, 14, Space Baker, White's Carver. We have Reynolds, let's say, LaFlamme. I believe that's how you say it. Apologies if I did not get right. And here is Osborne's livery, taking a bite. Look at that shark. Would not want to be the person ahead of him. Looks like, just don't need the driver ahead of you, Jess. Just don't be tapping anybody. Next thing, we got Adams. Great looking livery as well. Now we have Potvin. We have Cockcroft. Ruffas. We got 23 seconds. Let's rush through a little bit. Barker. Harold. Hacksaw. We have Rodriguez here. Master. Wicks. Yazirski. That's a nice looking name. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. We have Anim Friday, Otero, great looking livery as well. Boissonot, Payan, Morrison, Katufkar, Rose, and Brown. All right, folks, that's our grid. All right, looks like we do have, again, let's go back to our total number of drivers. 38 drivers tonight, folks. Oh, man, I feel, if I'll be up in the front, I feel pretty confident I'll end up at the front. It's going to be tough to overtake here, as we mentioned, folks. 1 hour race, folks. We do have a pit window. Starts 5 minutes into the race, I believe, and it will end 5 minutes before the end of the race. So you do have time to get your strategies, whether you want to pit in early, pit in later in the race. It's entirely up to the drivers. So things will get mixed a bit at the beginning. Some folks decide to pit in early, and they end up falling back, but they might want to get that out of the way, maybe get clear traffic. I mean, clearly no traffic, I mean. And if you notice you're maybe a little bit faster than the driver ahead of you, might want to pit in early, you know, not get stuck behind somebody. But should be fun, guys. Round 1, Season 8 at Zandvoort. If you've just joined us, welcome to our feed. The race is about to start. Yeah, take a look in our... If you take a look at our description there, join our Discord if you're not part of our community. Again, we have a variety of skill levels. If you don't think you're fast, and again, don't even worry about it. There is a couple of drivers that think they're not fast, and they actually end up being fast. Speaking about Nacho Donkey here on the chat, we know him. He's ended up being pretty quick. And again, some drivers, again, you can learn from better. Even if you're slow, you can join in. The fastest drivers, they share all their setups, share their knowledge. You can only improve, and it's always fun. It's always fun to race with others who like the same hobby as we do. So.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've ever had any inclination to do this, it's an absolute blast. Myself, I focus on designing liveries for the most part, and but I still have an absolute blast racing here at our SRA.
Do have the camera pointed over at the front of the grid. Just how to get that start over. Mr. Do Right, who was saying again, did mention earlier that he's only good at this track, supposedly. That's what he said. And I don't believe him. I don't believe him. I'm sure he's one of the fastest drivers here at D4. He is listed as silver. That might, we'll see if you might get a little bit of a D4 gold jump once things get sorted out. But you're going through the last turn here as Zandvoort, getting things started in just a few moments, folks. And that will be the official start of Division 4 here at SRA Season 8.
Yeah, go ahead if you're following along with us. Go ahead and drop your prediction to who's going to win this race in the chat as we get ready to go green.
Folks are lining up. Here we go, folks. Switch over to our TV camera as they come down to turn 1. See what we're able to see. And we'll switch over to a helicam once we get to turn 1. But look at that view.
Green light, give it all you can.
And we're green, folks. Green, green. SRA round 1 Zandvoort. Do Right has a great start. Looks like he got away pretty well up there on the front. Looks like pretty good battle, clean battle there. It looks like Sweeney and Berg there as well, battling for that P3, P4 positions. Great start from everybody. Keeps getting a little bit of a bump there. It looks like that might have been Berg, and not sure if he did drop, and maybe a little bit of a bump on Sweeney, who was in P3. It looks like everything is okay. Just gave a little bit of a gap to the guys up front. So a little bit of an open gap there towards the front of the pack, but looks like everything is okay so far. No major yellow flags. Looking clean. And excuse me, that pit window is actually 58 minutes, so that has been changed from previous season. Maybe I'm incorrect. Excuse me. So pit window is already open on lap 1, basically. So you basically have the entire race when you decided to want to pit. You could pit right now if you want to. I mean, or you could just wait until the last minute. I wouldn't, but some folks would. That depends on your strategy. You decide to go whenever you want to. Now, tires are not required for pitting. You can keep your same tires. That's what most folks would recommend. Now, you do have to put at least 1 liter of fuel to qualify as a mandatory pit. So.
Absolutely, and you don't want to make any errors on entering pit lane. It is a rather easy pit lane to get into compared to a lot of other tracks we go to, but still there's always that possibility of speeding down pit lane, and if you do that here with this hardest, we've mentioned it like several times before already, but as hard as it is to pass here, you definitely don't want to lose any more positions than you have to.
And we're just kind of took a look at Sweeney there, almost challenging Long for that P2. Sent it on the inside, he backed out a little bit. Cost him a little bit of time, and Berg got closer to him, but it looks like the I'd say P5 kind of opening up a little bit of a gap. Looks like P6 is the one that's about 2 seconds behind it, but everything's really close, though. There's a huge train. We're going to focus back a little bit on the midfield a little bit, switch to P12 and Daniels. Curling ahead of Nesbitt, it looks like.
And as we're watching that battle there, just of note, Rodriguez, Master, and Wicks, all three came into pit early.
And we talked about
See
it. It
how
was
this-
already clear. Good for them. Maybe they want clear track and not deal with so many drivers ahead of them. Maybe they think they're faster in pace. So, you know, they will come out of clean track this early in the race. So.
So far, Silver's leading the way. I do see Bird starting to close in on Sweeney for that third position, though. I think he wants another shot at that.
Very close qualifying between these two, and looks like they all the way through Maxwell and then Ruzic in P6. A little bit of a 2-second gap by Dan. But Berg very late on the brakes there on turn 1. I'm sure Sweeney must have seen his bumper way up on his mirror if he was looking at the moment, but Berg's trying to make up that room. I know he did really well yesterday. So, and Sweeney didn't have the best of luck, but again, we can see he does have pace, and he's an absolute monster qualifying session from him, putting all the way to P3. So positions looks pretty good. I'm looking at as far as top 10. I mean, I'd say only a few position changes. Again, really tough to overtake now. Boomstrap, Selena there in P10 has actually gained 3 spots. She was P13 to start with, just at P3. Excuse me, P10, 3-position gain. But everybody else about the same. Maxwell gained a position from Ruzic. Ruzic dropped 1. Everybody else is pretty much as it started, at least for the top 10. And Selena putting herself there up there.
Yeah, absolutely. A really clean start so far for Selena. No big issues. Just keeping it clean, doing what she needs to do, and trying to bring it home in one piece.
Taking a look at the midfield over here, just above, well, under P10, I'd say. We have Daniels, P11, and we have Nesbitt at P12, and then Osborne, Jess himself, they're P13. So a pretty tight group there, and it's a huge train going back there. And since you cannot overtake and you try challenging for positions, you end up not racing at your actual race pace because you need to account for late braking, early braking ahead of you. And you want to make sure you don't take anybody out. But Nesbitt has a really good exit out of that last turn, possibly baiting Daniels. Decides to wait a bit for that one. That leads to Osborne just behind, maybe trying to challenge Nesbitt now for that position, so that might have backfired a bit on him. He's basically sandwiched between McLaren ahead of him and Jess's Porsche.
The mouth on Osborne's Porsche has been tasting the back bumper of Nesbitt's car this entire race. Ever since the drop of the green flag, I've been keeping an eye on him, and definitely has been challenging for that position as they both try to negotiate past Dallin Daniels.
Now we talked about Jess's livery, and so Nesbitt's got that shark sort of looking Porsche on his mirror. So if he looks himself in the, looks at the mirror, you would see this thing just approaching really close to him. That's a great looking livery by Jess, actually. It looks really good. I like it. There we go. That's gonna be a little bit of an in view, as you can see, and we don't see here on the mirror on this camera view as we're looking at this interior camera. It's following Daniels pretty close. It looks like this might be a little bit held back. He's putting really a lot of pressure on Daniels. And this is where the exit goes. And he's trying to get a better exit to challenge for that position. Jez decides to go into the pits, so he's like, I want none of this.
Yeah, actually probably a pretty smart plan there, being held up by Daniels, both of them a little bit. That's probably a smart plan to get out. Get in the pits, get out, hopefully lap by yourself, and be able to put down some really quick laps before everyone else comes in.
Yeah, Daniels has about a 2-second gap to Selena ahead of him. So, as it might be thinking, should I pit? I have better pace, maybe. That's something you want to think about. Normally, that's my approach if I have somebody that obviously they can defend. They have every right to defend for the position. If I know I might have a little better pace, I would try to undercut him in the pits. So, something to think about as far as strategy goes.
Absolutely. As a defense, absolutely great defending so far from Daniels. Nesbitt's been right there putting pressure on since the start of the race and hasn't faltered once from what I've seen.
Daniels is just, looks like so far nerves of steel. They're keeping his line and not having to, no, not giving in. Said, hey, you know what, you're going to have to work for that overtake if you want, buddy. Very close to a battle McLarens. Great looking livery from Daniels as well. I do like that. I love seeing McLarens on the field. That is my favorite car ever since ACC was invented. So that's the car I race all the time with. So I like to see a lot of McLarens on the field. So taking a look at the chat, it says Harold got disconnected. Oh man, you just hate to see that. Sometimes you have technical issues. Unfortunately, he did get disconnected. So I did see here, as far as the number of drivers, did drop to 37. So unfortunately, yes, he has dropped from the server. A couple of things to point out as far as pit times go. Yesterday, I saw a couple of pits, the fastest pits I saw, basically in and out without obviously getting a drive-through, was about 28 seconds. So you were in, about 5 seconds in the pit stall, and back out you go. And sometimes with this kind of close racing, every millisecond will count. So you want to make sure you get that pit stop as fast as you can, because if you didn't, somebody else did. And then, you're going to have a problem. Now it looks like Rodriguez and Gino had 5-second pit stalls. Spent 5 seconds on pit stalls, but about 28 seconds from entrance to exit of the pit. So everybody's looking for that 28-second time for pit lane. I mean, for pit stops here. So I'll switch over to the top folks a bit here. Do-Right currently still with that lead, and they will start be getting possibly some blue flags, which will cause their times to drop. Wong just about half a second behind. And we do have Sweeney still with that P3. And then Berg with that P4. We have Maxwell, P5. Not too far back, we have Ruzik, P6. About 5 seconds behind that group of 5 drivers. And we have Andrew, P7. Followed closely by Watson, P8. We have Selena Boomstrap, currently in P9. And then we have Curtis Lee with that P10. So, field's trying to get spread out just a little bit. But those top folks, they're battling for top positions. Pretty close battle, especially Do-Right and Wong. So those had the 2 best qualifying sessions, and they've kept it pretty clean. Taking a look at the chat, we have Evo. What's going on, Ryan? It says your mic is a bit quiet. I did raise the volume a bit, so I guess I'll bring that up a little bit more. Let's get that moved up a little bit more. Let us know in the chat when Adam speaks if that's too low.
Yeah, and thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, we see Wong so far, fastest lap of the session with the 136.675 compared to Do-Right's 136.8, but can't quite string together enough of those to close in, maintaining right around a 0.6 second gap to the leader for about the past 4 laps or so.
Yeah, we take a look at, actually, speaking of lap times, we have Wong with that P2 again, fastest lap as you mentioned. Sweeney with that P3 with a 37.012, and then Berg with a 36.930. So a couple of drivers, 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers, and 5 with Cockcroft and P16 that are on the 36s. But everybody else on the 37s. So we're 7 laps in. 47 minutes and 50 seconds to go, folks. And it's 1 hour event. It's not your usual public lobby 15-minute that you normally see. So you got to do this for a whole hour. How consistent can you be? It's almost like a little mini endurance event, I'll call it. That's what I would take. By the way, tomorrow I'll be getting into this track myself, so that's going to be entertaining. I basically climb down the booth on the tower here where I'm at and grab my McLaren 720S and be joining the folks on the track. That should be fun. Skipped a season or so, and I'll be back to more racing. Should be fun.
And noticing a little further back in the pack, then Nesbitt actually falling off a little bit, coming under fire from Whitescarver. Whitescarver with a little bit of damage at the front of the BMW there. Still making good time though.
Yeah, it looks like Nesbitt's previous lap time was a little bit high. You might have made maybe a mistake or not, but yeah, it looks like Whitescarver's coming a little bit. Previous lap from Whitescarver actually was not as fast as Nesbitt, so he opened up. He's just sort of in between little gap. But look at that lunge from Whitescarver, just super late on the brakes on his BMW. But maybe defending himself from Laflamme, who's in 14. He's under pressure, so.
We see Nesbitt go wide right in front there. A little bit of inconsistency from these three, but they're still putting on a nice battle nonetheless.
Yeah, Sector 2 is such a hard place to overtake. I mean, it requires some serious. We know what it requires to send your car in here, but not too far back from Daniel, so it's probably glad to see. I mean, Nesbitt was on his mirror the whole time, so got a little bit of a breathing room. This is honestly one of, every time I go through this sector, we see Nesbitt going through. I cannot be fully consistent every single time I go through that sector. I end up hitting the curb the wrong way, and the McLaren's already known to be sort of a brick on wheels, and the car goes all over the place, and some people can control it. I just tend to completely avoid it just to be on the safe side. Unless I'm doing a qualifying flying lap, then I'll just send it. If I make a mistake, I'll try again. But you know, it's such a tough sector of the track because you have that literally 90-degree right-hander followed by a hairpin. And you could gain quite a bit of time if you cut it correctly through the curbs, but you can also lose it quite well, end up on the grass. So.
Yeah, a lot of risk reward through that section for sure. I think you know, you speak for about everybody and how hard it is to be consistent through that section. Just a little bit of variability of speed and the way you hit the curb, it all has to line up perfectly to be consistent.
And that's where practice can make perfect. You practice enough, you can be consistent, then you can confidently have your car bounce all over the place as long as you know what to expect from the car. I just sort of, every lap looks different to me and feels different, so I go, I'm just going to avoid it. That's just my safe take, especially on a race. Following Selena Boonstra here, P9 on her Porsche. Following close by Lee, is not too far back. And Lee, previous lap, about 200ths of a second faster than Boonstra, so Lee might be looking to put some pressure for that P9.
Yeah, Lee initially part of that battle with Daniels and Nesbitt. She pulled quite a bit of, about a 5-second gap in front of Daniels, so much that now on the back bumper of Boonstra for that 9th position.
And that Porsche has so much, you know, the power out of turns is just so tough to overtake. You just don't have enough straight here at Zandvoort to attempt an overtake on the Porsche. So it's, once that car takes off, it's gone. You might not have your top speed, but on a short track like this, where that isn't necessarily required, Porsches do benefit from that. And by the way, she is actually currently, she's P9, but she's actually the top Porsche on track. So kudos to Boonstra, that's for sure. Open up a little bit of a gap from Lee, so a little bit of breathing room, just a bit. Now Lee did put his fastest lap just previously was at 137, 127, so almost in the 36s. So Lee's coming. I mean, this lap currently not his best, but the train is getting quite a bit up ahead, not too far ahead of her. You have Watts and Andrews, so this is not this is like a train that's looks like it's getting back together. It had opened up a bit, but looks like it's sort of crunching back up. Take a look at the chat a bit. Join the server. Captain Speedy, not realizing it's a North American server, so I can't do any of the league races, as that would mean racing at 2 a.m. in the morning for me. I'm from the UK. Oh man, yes. So our races are on Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So yeah, it's definitely fun here at SRA, man. I wish you could join us. You're more than welcome to join our Discord to still pick our brains. You know, we have some fun. Our community's great. But
absolutely, and one thing you might be able to do is for some of the endurance races. I know some of those later stints and stuff where it becomes harder for North American drivers. You definitely, I imagine you could find a team to pick you up for some of the stints that are hard to do for North America.
Absolutely, yeah. We do have a couple of endurance events coming up. Oh, as we talked about, Daniel's making a mistake here. Yellow flag at the hairpin on Sector 1. He's trying to get his car back. Let's take a look at a replay and see exactly what happened. And it looks like he, oh, caught it right before, but it looks like he just bounced off the wall. Maybe a little bit too much grass on the left hand. And then, oh, he might have some damage from that, though, so he's back on track he goes. Doesn't look that bad. Oh, he does look a little bit of front-end damage on his car, so oof, it's sad to see that. And he has yet to pit, which is a good thing. He might be looking to maybe fix that if it's not too many seconds shaved off, if he cannot drive the car, so. And that gave all the way through P20. Everybody's gained a position due to that mistake that Daniel's made. So, again, we talked about instead of 40 minutes left. So, you know, he still can gain that back, but hopefully it's not any major damage on his car. Let's take a quick look at the leaders here, as they've been super consistent all around. They're going through Sector 1. Do-Right is still with that lead, just about half a second behind. We have Jill Wong, and then second and a half we have Sweeney, and then Berg following close behind. Now we do have Maxwell on that P5, and this is where you need to maximize on your pit, folks. I mean, you need to absolutely nail that pit. They're literally racing next to each other. And if you get that 1 second or two that you don't get that pit correctly, well, there goes your position. It's still way too early to call this race. You guys on the chat there watching us so far, what do you think about this race maybe winning? It looks like Berg on the inside of Sweeney. Sweeney made a mistake. It looks like Berg might have taken a little too much and cooked it. Has a yellow flag on the track. It goes not too much time, but let's see what happened there with Berg. It looks like he might have just maybe took a little bit too much. Looked like he just spun it a little too much, and then he lost the rear. But the good thing is that he's back on track, no damage, and not much time lost as well. So, and considering the fact he had pretty good pace, he might be able to catch that group back up. So I'm sure Sweeney is happy, maybe not having to deal with Berg on his mirror for such a long time for the past 20 minutes. So.
Yeah, definitely probably happy to be able to focus forward for once and not have to defend against Berg for nearly every lap since this race. I don't think Berg has been further than about 0.3 seconds behind. So now Chris Sweeney can set his sights on Wong for second.
Yeah, but we spoke too soon, and look at that. Maxwell kind of took Berg's place, just following Sweeney close again. So Sweeney now having to deal with a Ferrari instead of a McLaren. Now, Berg, by the way, just lost one spot. He's down 5th. So, which is, you know, was a little mistake, but it happens. So,
yeah,
Sweeney,
the top 5 drivers with a pretty decent gap to 6th place there. So Berg still sits 2.5 seconds ahead of Ruzek for 6th position there.
And Wong still with that fastest lap of the race, by the way. Stars were brand new, I'd say, back then a few laps in. He's got that 36.675. That's a heck of a lap on the race fuel. I mean, I'm assuming he does have a full tank. Wouldn't want to waste too much time on the pit here. You just need to do a 1 liter stop. But that's a heck of a lap for race fuel, I would call it, for Wong. And so is Do-Right there at the lead with a 36.840. And Maxwell with a 36.707. So Maxwell on that Ferrari has extremely good pace. And just switch the camera back to Ruzic, P6. And we have Watts not too far back. They've been pretty steady. Again, Ruzic gained that spot. Excuse me, lost the spot. And Maxwell, who was actually in P6 starting-wise, has jumped up to P4. Watts P7 gained 2 spots, and Drew lost 1. But so far, I mean, as far as, I'm not counting pits and all that, but Selena Boonstrup, P9, she's gained 4 spots so far on the race. And we'll see if anybody that's up there on the front has already pit, but so far, P9, she started P13, so great drive from her so far. And taking a look at the chat, by the way, I do see Mapo train for your boy Gino. Take a look at that. Let's focus on his car for a little bit. He does have a little bit of a gap ahead of him. He does have about a 1.2 second gap ahead of Rodriguez, currently P20. There's a little bit of a helicam here, shall we? Get a couple of aerial views of Zandvoort. Now, from the looks of here, and I'm counting most of the drivers, but about half the field has already pit, half has not. So, depending on how pace goes throughout the race, I mean, this could be at the end when the drivers up ahead decide to pit, and the drivers have already pitted, all of a sudden see a bunch of cars just coming out of the pit together, possibly if they wait until the last minute. And you got to remember here, pit at Zandvoort is a very short exit, and you do have that inside line. And as a driver on the track, of course, you cannot cross into that wide line, but exiting the pits, you cannot cross that either. So, you know, it can be, you can get kind of ugly on turn 1, especially if you don't pay attention who might be coming out of the pits. So,
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if potentially Maxwell or Sweeney comes a little bit earlier than Wong does, to see if they can get a little bit of a jump in the pits and get some clean track ahead of them, to potentially make up some time. Initially, I thought Berg might pit a little early because he had been following Sweeney so closely. A little bit of clean track, he might have been able to leapfrog him in the pits, but we didn't see that pan out. And then with the mistake and the spin, that strategy goes out the window anyway. But again, we see Maxwell right on the back of Sweeney, making up time. Just an excellent race so far.
yeah, I mean, the top 4 at the moment, they're literally within a half a second, but within a second, I'd say a second of each other. It looks like, excuse me, before I lose it, Ruzic looks like lost it, and let's take a look at the replay and see exactly what happened. Switch that back, and he was doing great, and again, oh man, and we talked about, and I might have jinxed that. We talked about that earlier. Too much curb on that 90 degree. I talked about that earlier. You can either, and you said high risk, high reward. So if you take that, and that will drop him a few spots all the way down to P10. Looks like right behind him, we have Nesbitt, who is pretty close to him, and somebody has gone into the pits, and I forget who that was. I was trying to focus on Nesbitt, and all of a sudden, things got switched around on my screen. Excuse me, guys. And
That's Rodriguez pitting.
there we go. That's what it was. Rodriguez on the pits. And I didn't catch exactly what happened. I guess we're switching that over to Ruzic, but it looks like Sweeney.
P2, Wong's around.
Oh,
Wong did the exact same thing. Too much curb.
But on the grass, he's rejoining now. Might be able to defend that. Oh, my goodness. So that actually gives Do-Ride some breathing room. But it looks like Sweeney also might have lost it because himself and Maxwell dropped big time. And now Sweeney challenging Wong for that P2, but he has to worry about, look at Berg in the back, coming absolutely flying. Sweeney on the outside, Maxwell on the inside. He has to worry about defending and attack at the same time. Oh my goodness. Let's get an aerial view here. Now Berg has joined the fight again. And I'm not exactly sure what happened to Sweeney there, but it looks like himself and Maxwell dropped a good 5 seconds from the leaders, and then Wong made a mistake. And oh, Sweeney.
Oh. Sweeney's off. Yeah, we had some right side damage I was noticing on Sweeney as well, so he and Maxwell may have got together at some point off camera.
Could be, because he just tapped the grass there and just completely lost his car. So he has dropped down, and we'll see what happens later. I mean, obviously, if there's anything, our stewards will take a look as far as in racing incidents and such things. But, oh man, you just hate to see that happen right at the leading into turn 14. So it looked like he lost his car. And White Scarver also. Oh, excuse me, he was going to the pits. I got an alert that was a yellow flag. But so Sweeney into the pits now, and let's see if he's got any damage. How much time he would spend into the pits. That could be maybe a battle between himself and Maxwell that caused it.
Yeah, stewards may have to go back and look at that rejoin from Wong. I see forced Sweeney quite a bit wide with that rejoin. That may have caused some issues, but again, stewards will have to look at that and see if there's any infractions. But right now, you can see Maxwell absolutely pushing that Ferrari as hard as he can to catch Wong. I've seen it sideways out of a couple corners in the last lap.
Now, taking a quick look at pit times, by the way, Sweeney with a 5-second pit, 27 seconds on the entire pit. So that was a great pit for me. He decided not to fix if he has any damage. He said, I'm going this way. It is what it is. And he does have a little bit of free track ahead of him. He does have Rodriguez, who was already pit himself. And we're going to switch back over to Wong here, as we talked about. And Maxwell just on a mission, trying to catch for that, battling for that P2. And Do Right had actually made a little mistake at his previous lap, as the leader was at 39.457. Could be maybe traffic or not, but a 2-second difference from P2 and P3. So, oh, we got 30 minutes to go. We have no idea what's going to happen here so far, guys.
Well, what we do know is happening is a bit of a traffic jam back between 21st and 25th position. It is piled up. And we've seen several dives, several lunges, but so far no positions traded.
Yeah, we have Gitish leading. He has yet to pit. It looked like Reynolds. Oh my goodness, it's almost the same mistake as Sweeney. Like tapped the outside of that curb and completely lost the car, but looks like no damage. But oh man, yeah, that gave Gitish on 21st a little room to breathe, but not too much, because Adams and Potvin and Cockcroft not too far back. So little mini train going on for that 21st position battle.
Yeah, traffic definitely plays a big role. If you get too many drivers stacked up behind one car, everybody starts getting desperate, and you see moves like that, and you see mistakes start being made when you can't find a consistent rhythm because of the traffic.
I'm going to switch the camera back to Selena here. Currently P7 is still having to deal with Lee, who had cleared that previous, say, train, where Nesbitt is actually leading that train P9 at the moment. Lee just can't seem to find a way around, and Selena says, I'm going to the pits. Like, I want none of this AMG anymore behind me. And we'll take a quick look at her pit times and see what she is going to get. Again, we're looking at about a 5-second up and down in our pit stall. She gets her Porsche on her stall. Everything looks good so far. But it looks like she might have some damage as she's spending an extra amount of time in the pits. Or one thing we also have seen happen is you forgot to uncheck the tire changes, and that could well possibly be something. Then that will absolutely kill your races. An extra 30-second in the pits, and that's what it looks like for Selena. Oh man, you hate to see that, since she's having such a great race. We saw Barker coming in there and getting his car ahead of hers, and looks like she'll be coming out behind Barker. And she does, but oh man, all that extra time on the pit, that was a total of 55 seconds and 32-second total pit. So she might not have seen it, checked your change tires, and she got new tires now, but oh man, to make up all that time, it's tough.
And while we were looking at Selena there, we had an off from Lee, who she was actually just racing. Heavy damage to the front end of that Mercedes as well.
Oof. And looks like our Panda. Oh yeah, as you can see, even with the Panda, oh, he's just letting folks through at this moment. Might having some serious top speed issues. He just lets both guys through. We got Rose and Hacksaw both get ahead of Lee. Now we're taking a look at Lee. He is not yet pitted, which is good, so you might want to consider fixing that. You just see a little bit of his hood coming up. Yeah, he's going wide onto that turn, and you know he's been very consistently good, so he needs to pit that AMG ASAP. And he says, no, I'll stick it outside. All right. He's like, I will drive this car maybe another lap. He does looks like he's losing major amount of time, and we see Gino also coming back, P13.
Yeah, absolutely. You see the closing rate between Lee and Gino there on the straightaway. You can definitely tell that Mercedes top speed is very hurt.
And even though top speed isn't your priority here at Zandvoort, but it looks like he's having some serious trouble on that AMG now. So. And we have Wong. Wong, who was P2 all the way up there. Yellow, also a mistake. Let's see if we can catch exactly what happened with Wong. And 15 seconds back was a little too late, but looks like he might have caught some grass again. And unfortunately into the grass. It doesn't look as bad of a damage. He has yet to pit, but he has dropped quite a few positions too. So now Berg is P3, even after that issue that we saw earlier when he lost his rear. So he's back up on the podium. And let's take a look at so far positions gained. Again, we go back to, again, it's still a lot of folks yet to pit now. From the folks that have not yet pitted, Boissonat, 23 spots so far. Again, he does have to pit. Hacksaw, 16. J. Rose, 26 spots. He started practically last, and he's in P11. Now, that's a heck of a race from him. I'll tell you that so far. And we have also Nesbitt, who started P12. P7 right now. Again, a couple of mistakes from a few other drivers, so you do gain positions. We talked about that earlier. Maxwell, heck of a race from him so far. He does have some front-end damage on his 296, but the car looks all right as he's been running some pretty good laps.
Very good laps. Been about a tenth faster than the leader for the last 2 laps, and that gap's gone from about 5 seconds to 3 within since Wong had the spin there.
And then Berg, not too far back. He's back on the battle. And again, Coach Jeffrey's prediction did get Berg to win. He is putting some serious pace and pressure on Maxwell. And again, they are both approaching Durite. Maybe Durite's got a little coffee saying, I got a little bit of a lead and lift it off a bit. I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe tire issues at the moment. I'm not sure. And Maxwell says, I'm heading to the pits. I'm out of here. Keep an eye on his pit strategy and pit stop. Durite also in the pits. Let's take a look at these folks' pit strategies and pit stop times. And both are practically next to each other. This is going to be interesting to see. Let's get an air review. Durite, heck of a pit stop. In and out. And looks like Maxwell might have forgotten with tires. And he is still on his pit stop. Maybe that fixes that front end, but I don't think that would take that long. And he's out 20 seconds. So yeah, he decided to fix that front end of his 20 seconds, 15-second time loss in the pits. So we'll see what happens to Maxwell. He had really, really good pace, and that gives Berg the lead provisionally.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm not sure whether that was intentional or if we forgot to uncheck repairs, because, like you said, he had plenty of pace, was pacing faster than the leader for several laps.
No, I'll probably say Berg might be kicking himself in the butt at the moment. If he wasn't for that spin, he would be quite ahead at the moment. He did lose a good 6 seconds. But still with that spin, bringing his car up to first at the moment. And he doesn't have to pit, but if he's able to pace and maybe a couple of hot lapping around, I mean, why not? He might be able to gain some time and possibly come out on P1 still. Durite had a heck of a pit stop. He was basically up and down. Looks like his pit stop was at 5 seconds in the stall, 28 seconds total. So If Berg comes out, who come out very close to that P2 since, unfortunately, we saw Maxwell having that, well, spend an extra 20 seconds in the pit, so.
Yeah, Berg finally with some clean air for the very first time. It's almost odd not seeing that McLaren up under the wing of another car.
I am switching back over to P8 at the moment, like closest mini battle, let's say, going on the track. Boissonat, Hacksaw P9, and J Rose P10. They have, neither driver has yet pitted, and they're within basically a second of each other. Boissonat with that BMW, followed closely by Hacksaw's McLaren and J Rose a BMW. So we do have a McLaren sandwich made out of BMW bread.
And just of note, back in 12th, we still have not seen Lee pit. Remember, Lee has that front end damage on his Mercedes. Definitely some hood damage and severely hurt top speed down the straight. It's still hanging in there with 12th place, though. Hasn't fallen too far back despite the damage.
Yeah, he's running close to 40s now. Last lap was a 39.932, so it's 100% affecting his top speed. I don't know. I mean, that's something maybe you pit, repair, and might not lose that much time. Still 20 minutes left in the race, so that's going to be up to Mr. Lee. Still focusing back here at Hacksaw, who does have Rose. Very close. Rose with a dive on that inside. And look at that. Just absolutely sent it on that 90-degree. That you have to have some... Woo! That was a heck of a move from Rose. Let's take a look at a replay on that. That's really, really quick. Wow, I might catch you right at the end of this. Let's see. He just put his BMW on the inside and said, well, he didn't cover that in, so I'll take that.
Yeah, that was bold. I think once Hacksaw realized what was happening, just kind of backed off and said, okay, you can have it.
And by the way, we talked about, and see, Berg has pitted. We saw it on the picture-in-picture. He actually came out ahead of Do-Right. So, I don't know. This is currently, I mean, if you take a look at your standings at the left-hand side, Watts, Andrew, and Wong and Nesbitt have yet to pit. And so does Ruzic. So, at the provisional win at the moment, Berg has got that win, and Coach Jeffries did predict Berg to win the race. I cannot believe that would be a heck of a prediction from him. So
yeah, we'll see. Do-Right definitely still has Berg in sight, though. Both of them with pretty equally matched McLarens. Yeah, it should be interesting to see how it plays out.
And now he will have Do-Right. Do-Right's a very, very good pace and goes a little wide onto the grass, but doesn't lose speed. He is coming across the next group of folks who have yet to pit. So Ruzic, Nesbitt, Wong, Andrew, and Watts are right ahead of him. But this is going to be pretty tough. Again, we talked about overtaking here at Zandvoort, and they're approaching practically the only place where you can try to make an overtake if you get a good exit at this turn 14. But Do-Right nowhere close to attempt an overtake. Similar exact cars, so you're not much of an advantage here from one another, so it's going to be very tough for Do-Right to make that overtake. So, and look at Ruzic. Oh my goodness! Wow. I'm just looking right ahead of Berg. Ruzic and Morrison. Looks like Morrison is a blue flag, and now causing a traffic jam.
Yeah, we'll see how this plays out. Morrison was a bit of a hard time for the leaders the last time around, and let's see if he moves over and gives way for them this time.
Now there's a rule at SRA. If you do get a blue flag, you got one lap to open up, and looks like, oh my goodness, Berg on the absolute limit. Oh, it looks like Do-Right has
Do-Right into the back of him.
Ooh.
Small tap. Berg's around. Let's see if we can get it back going again.
He has gone into the dirt. His car is stopped. He's trying to get back on the track, but that looks like it was a late break, maybe move from Do-Right. He might have just gone a little too deep on the brakes and caused Berg to spin. Didn't lose money positions at all. You know, we have Osborne coming through really fast behind Berg, but he's able to hold on that position. He actually dropped down to P13. Still quite a few folks to pit.
Yeah, I've mentioned at the time, or intended to, that it was pretty impressive seeing Berg hold on, and if Do-Right was going to make a move, it had to be quick because Berg had just come out of the pits. His tires were still a little bit colder, and had the same time to get them up to temp. So we saw him make a move. It just may not have worked out like planned, and probably end up seeing a penalty assigned there.
Yeah, I mean, also with the traffic jam ahead of Berg, it was like a train wreck, and Morrison looks like he wasn't giving up that easily with the blue flag. And looks like Do-Right might have been a little too late on the brakes. From, again, that's our perspective as viewers. We'll see what the stewards say once they take a look at the incident. So, Rose is in the pits, by the way. One of the drivers still left to get that out of the way. A couple of drivers moved in a few spots. Sweeney, who had that issue earlier on the race, is now up to P9, so he's been having, again, considering the circumstances, a pretty decent race so far. I am following Rodriguez, who is being followed by Maxwell. Again, Maxwell, really good place earlier. But again, really tough to overtake here at Zandvoort.
It's interesting to note the lines, difference in lines between Maxwell and Rodriguez. You see Maxwell using every millimeter of track space to try to make something happen and to keep that momentum throughout the turns.
And Rodriguez Porsche just has that torque. He just takes off after every turn. He's just gone. You can see that, and it's like it's almost impossible to overtake the Porsche here. And provisional lead again once all these drivers have already pitted. Do-Right is still with that lead. Now we talked about, again, Gino, we talked about earlier on the chat. He's actually currently with I'll probably say a P2, considering Boissonneau has to still have his pit out of the way. And we have what would technically be Sweeney with P3 once those drivers get their pit out of the way. Now they are getting out close, kind of in a little train. Rodriguez, Sweeney right ahead of him. Now Sweeney did have, it looks like, a little bit of damage earlier. We talked about that. He decided not to repair. So he's holding on what would be a provisional P3 at the moment. I mean, considering how much time they are behind the leaders. But we'll see. Just under 15 minutes left on the race. Take a look at the chat. Evo did not do right. Oh, yeah. So, Jeffrey, so unfortunately, from our perspective on the TV cameras, going down Sector 2, fast right-hander, you know, where the beach is located to your left-hand side, Berg was ahead of Do-Right, and maybe some blue flag stuff going on there. It looks like Do-Right might have been a little too late on the brakes and ended up tapping Sweeney, and Sweeney went to the beach for quite a few seconds. So we'll take a look. The stewards will take a look at that and see what happened. But yeah, unfortunate. They were battling pretty close, but that's happens. Unfortunate. So.
And just one minor correction, that was Berg that was at the receiving end of that dive, and he's under fire from Osborne at the moment for 12th position while trying to work his way back up. Hasn't quite got the pace back yet. We've seen low 38s. We haven't seen very quick times since the spin.
Now, Berg did gain the position back from Osborne. Osborne had already kind of sort of taken that position, and now he was able to get the position back. But even though this thing so far hasn't worked out for Berg on this race, we know he's got pace to be way up there, which is good to see. And this is just one race out of 8, folks. So. And provisional leader, Watts, is getting into the pits at this very moment. Make sure he does not go over that speed limit. You do not want to get a drive-through. That would completely ruin your race. It looks like he was able to keep it under this limit. Keep a look at his pit time all around. Up and down he goes. Great pit from Watts. Just about 6 seconds or so on the stall, which is on par with the 5 seconds everybody else has been doing, the fastest drivers. And out he goes. 28 seconds all the way through. Great pit from Watts. Comes back out what looks to be 5th place at the moment.
5th place, clear track, still has about a 4-second gap. That's 6th place, so no pressure there. Plenty of time to get the tires up to temperature and try to work his way up to 4th position and see if he can put some pressure on Do-Right for the what could be the provisional lead.
And Do-Right has been leading most of the race. The great pit from Berg basically put him in P2, and that's what created that little battle for the lead. And Ruzik looks like Scott does have some front end damage. And previous lap from Ruzik was a 38.980 with a Do-Right with a 38.227. So we see the times are starting to drop. They have not changed their tires. And obviously the grip does fall. So they're no longer able to push as much. Again, fastest lap of the race, 36.675 by Jay Wong, who is currently on the provisional lead on his Lamborghini. And we did see him make 2 mistakes earlier, but no major damage, which is good. Andrew is on the pits on his McLaren. Take a close look at his time. Hopefully up and down he goes. And great pit from him. 6 seconds up and down on the pits. And looks like Lee's finally pitting in after that incident that caused some major damage to his front end. Let's see if he decides to fix those repairs or not.
Yeah, with only 10 laps left, it might be an even trade as far as time. Probably about an extra 10 seconds. Looks like he decides not to repair.
I mean, at this point, 10 minutes left on the race. He goes basically in and out of there. And great pit for him, by the way. 6 seconds, 29 seconds all the way across. He comes directly ahead of Barker, who is, again, we talked about his pit exit here at Zandvoort. Parker must have seen this. Oh, there's an AG out of the pits. I wasn't expecting that. But they come to a massive train of cars. As look at Friday. Oh my goodness. And there's a couple of blue flags going on there. We have Hacksaw. Lee, it's just an entire group of cars. A couple of blue flags. Looks like somebody might have gone off back there. No, excuse me. No, that was just one of the trees I was looking at. Looks like it was a car, but no.
No, you were correct. It was Friday went off.
Friday.
Put the nose of that Audi into the fence.
Correct. That's what it was. And oh, somebody else goes wide here into the dirt. My race control wasn't giving me any yellow warnings, so I got to be a little confused. And looks like we have a couple of yellows in the center of the track, but looks like it's all sorted out by now. And switch back over to Lee. It would have affected his top speed. I don't know if Lee maybe would have been a better choice to pit in early, get that repair out of the way, but you know, everybody's got different strategies, so.
Definitely experiment with those kind of things in the first race of the season. You have plenty of time in other races to make up. Decide you don't like that kind of strategy, change it up for next time.
Yeah, Ruzik has already pit, by the way, and we just have Wong left to pit. He actually comes back out. He's in P14, and that leaves Wong with that lead. It's about a 16-second lead over Do-Right, who's in P2. Again, our pit's roughly about, you know, 28 seconds or so on pits. So it looks like if Do-Right can keep it steady, he should be taking that win here at Zandvoort. And Watts with that P2, Gino P3, Andrew P4, and that will be swinging in P5. So Wong's still decided not to pit. He's going to wait until the maybe last few minutes of the race. Everybody else in top car, excuse me, P18 has not yet pit himself, so. You're going to take a quick look at Sweeney here. He does have just about a half a second lead over Maxwell. He goes super deep on a turn, uses the entire track, Maxwell.
Yeah, I think Sweeney's got a little bit of time to be gained there if he wanted to into turn one. We've seen a couple drivers actually close up really quickly. We saw Bird early on in the race do it, and now we see Maxwell be closing right in turn one there. So it could be damage related. We're not sure because he elected not to fix damage on that car, but definitely overall a great recovery after that spin. Finds himself P6 right now.
He is under pressure from Maxwell, who's got pretty good pace throughout the entire session here tonight. But again, tough to overtake here at Zandvoort, as we know. Let's switch over to Maxwell's interior view as he sees that Sweeney's McLaren has a little bit of a short shift there. And looks like somebody's off on there. Who's that on our picture-in-picture? That's Rodriguez. He's lawn-mowing there outside entirely and then going to the beach maybe? No, he's back on track.
It is the Dutch Dunes. If you're going to go to the beach, this is the place to do it. And see just a couple spots lost for Rodriguez. Settles in 14th.
You see Maxwell in cam view here at the finish line, maybe attempting an overtake. Sweeney goes on the inside for the defense, not giving him any chance whatsoever. He goes on the outside, just doesn't have enough time. We talked about this again. Straight here at Zandvoort, just not enough. It's almost like the driver ahead would just say, you know what, I concede and I'll take the outside line and you can go. But if you take that inside line, it's extremely difficult to overtake here. And very close down to sector 2. Following him extremely close. Sweeney's just absolutely gunning it down sector 2, down into where the incident between Duride and Berg happened, but Maxwell keeps it clean. But under major pressure, and just about 4 minutes left in the race. And
yeah, it's definitely difficult as the trailing driver with Maxwell. When you have a driver in front of you that maybe isn't quite as good in the braking zone, it's hard to pick your spot as to where you're going to overtake when you're just a little bit better under braking. But a track like this where it tightens up so much on exit, it's hard to get the same kind of exit speed if you have to brake earlier than you would like to. Very hard to keep a consistent momentum, I should say.
Yep, that is correct. And a trailing driver, you always have so many things going on for you. You need to adjust your brake markers on the fly. You have to, basically hope that the driver ahead of you also is constant to keep his brake markers all the time the same, so that you know what to expect, because then if not, you can cause an incident. As they go together again on turn 1, and Sweeney holds that inside line and says, not today, not this lap. 3.5 minutes left on the race. And super close Maxwell gets into the hairpin here in sector 1, leading to sector 2.
Nearly saw a contact there. Maxwell taking wide entries into these corners, trying to get the drive off, but Sweeney and that McLaren just hooks up on exit and hasn't been able to make it happen so far.
And Wong, the last driver, has already taken his pit stop. He comes out in P7, just ahead of Berg in P8, who's been sort of hot lapping the past couple of laps. Kind of found himself in a little bit of a gap. But before we switch over back to Sweeney here and Mr. Maxwell, switch over to Weiscarver in P10, also under serious pressure from Boonstra, who had that one long pit, spent about 30 seconds into the pits, which is unfortunate. That would have been given her many positions ahead. And she's trying on the inside. Look at the move with Selena into Weiscarver, battling very close. Great racecraft from these two drivers, but Whitescarver says, not today, and not least turn. Look, trying to switch on the inside. Wow, that was a heck of a move.
Excellent crossover there by Boonstra, taking advantage of the lap traffic there that kind of set a pick on Whitescarver. And after Whitescarver avoided it, she took advantage of that, and she's going to come away with position P10. Great recovery for Boonstra here.
Yeah, and she is just absolutely killing it. Was able to hold on to that spot too. But what a move, says Whitescarver says, not this turn. She says, well, the next turn, I'll get it. And she went for it. And Whitescarver had a little bit of a grip loss on exit on that turn, so Boonstra just took advantage of it. Great move, that's for sure.
And looking at the chat quick, Babu says, Gino with a quiet P3 for the boys. Absolutely great drive by Gino, working up to P3 in that McLaren. About 7 seconds gap to second place, so, and decent gap behind, so if everything goes as planned, should come out with that P3 position. Great first race.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he started way in P15. He didn't have the greatest qualifying session. Gained 12 spots on the race. I mean, that is huge. Driver of the day, I would say, so far, Gino. And yeah, he's been pretty quiet. We didn't see many battles going on. He just kind of pitted early and just kind of kept to himself and coming out with a podium so far.
Yeah, and a day full of mistakes. We talked about so many drivers having issues with curbs and pushing too hard and in contact with other drivers. We're at a track where you really can't make those mistakes because of the difficulty passing. Gino does exactly what he needs to do and is going to come home with a really good finish for it.
Following Sweeney here once again for that P5, and Maxwell just absolutely going absolutely nuts behind him. Sweeney got a little bit of dirt out of turn 14, but taking that inside line and said, nope, you're not taking this position here again. Takes that inside line and just full defensive driving from Sweeney. Absolute monster drive. They're actually getting close over to Andrew for that P4. They closing the gap just a bit, even though they're battling each other on track.
And it's so hard to do anything when somebody guards that entry into turn one. Oh, nearly contact between the two. They're going to pull alongside. Maxwell's going to have the inside coming here through the S's, so we'll see who comes out with it.
And this is the final lap, folks. Final lap as he goes wide. Oh my goodness, Maxwell just, whew, what a move. Just a boss move there, to be honest. Going very wide onto that turn where the beach is. And, you know, you go on that beach, usually you don't come back out. So...
Great save there, right back, putting pressure on Sweeney again. A little bit of a wiggle there, allows Sweeney to pull away.
And by the way, Watts, P2, great race from him as well. Just about a second and a half from Do-Right. We should be crossing the line for that win on our first event very soon, pending any issues. But it looks like Sweeney. Yeah, yep. No, go for it, Adam. Go for it.
So just Watts also with quiet, much like we said with Gino, it's a quiet day, did everything right. And he's going to bring that Panda Mercedes home second place here on the final lap.
That's right. Do-Right with the win here tonight at Zandvoort. Congrats to him. Watts P2, Gino P3, Andrew P4, and Sweeney bringing the P5. Top 5 for Sweeney. Maxwell just couldn't find a way around. Sweeney Wong on that P7, and Berg after that incident with Do-Right still finishes with P8. Osborne and Boonstra just kind of closing together. It looks like Boonstra took the position at the end from Osborne. Teammates, and not sure if that was maybe a team game going on there, but Osborne just sort of, I'm not sure if you let it go or what it was, but Boonstra take that position, ends up P9, wrapping up the top 10. Osborne again, P10. So a great race from these folks. Wow. The driver's still coming through. It's still not over just yet. Couple of drivers coming through the finish line. We have Barker, Rose, Spacebaker. Let's go back the field a little bit here. There's not over again. Daniels was having a pretty good race earlier, but then had some damage. He dropped down way P23. Last few drivers coming in through the line. We have Payan, who should be the last to come through with his Audi. Checkered flag, folks, and crosses the line. And that's it, folks. Looks like everybody has crossed the line. From my end here, server still has not considered this as an end of race. Give us just a second, folks. We have Master and Pit on the excuse me, Q Master and Brown on the pits. And we'll just wait until this finishes, but looks like Boysonaw P11, for some reason, his car is beached outside here in turn 1, but he hasn't triggered the server to say the race ended. We'll just wait to make sure everything's good. And then, as a matter of fact, we're going to bring some folks in for some interviews to find out how their first race went. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to our intermission page, folks. Here we go. And let's take a couple of our folks on top and bring him for an interview. We're going to bring him to our cool down room. We don't want to scare them off and say, hey, by the way, you're on our tower for interview, but we'll wait until they start joining voice chats. And let's start off by we're going to bring in Mike Gino. I know a couple of guys on the chat. We're talking about him, and he had a great race all around. Let's just find out how did his race go from his point of view. Our point of view was more like he just hot lapped, apparently, and he just was able to come through with a podium. So let's bring him over for a quick interview. We'll bring a few other drivers in. Give us just a second, folks. While we get this sorted out on our end. All right, let's bring him over. I think we found him, and let's go ahead and bring him over in. All right, Mike Gino, do you hear us here at our booth?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you, man. Well, congrats, man, on the race. I mean,
Thank you.
Absolute top finish there for you. I mean, you're pretty quiet throughout the race. We didn't see much of you until all of a sudden you're just basically up there on the podium. Like, talk to us a little bit. How did that go for you, man?
Yeah, so I didn't expect to get even close to third. My hot lap pace was like 20 something, and even qualifying, I didn't feel very fast. I watched some of the goal drivers go. I watched Berg go to get some tips when he was qualifying. I think that helped a bit. But yeah, the beginning of the race, I pit early because there's a lot of traffic, and
Nice.
I was always like the first one that pitted early, and then I just slowly passed each car in the pit, so it kind of worked out.
Well, you did a lot of undercutting. I mean, you started way back there. Was it P15? I believe that's where you're way back. I know
15,
for sure.
14, yeah.
So, and all of a sudden we see positions gain, and you got a couple of the guys on the broadcast chat saying, "Go, Gino! Nice drive from Gino." So you got some people there cheering for you, which was nice to see. But I mean, first race of the season A. We still got 7 rounds to go next week at Circuit of the Americas, and I don't want to take too much of your time. I'm sure you got like this hour of just you got to rest.
No.
I'll go ahead and I'll send you back to the race chat, voice chat, and I appreciate you tuning in here to share with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, guys.
You got it, man. And here we go. Let's go ahead and bring in, we're going to bring in Sweeney for that battle that was going on towards the end. I know he had some issues in the race, so let's bring in Mr. Chris Sweeney to our booth. And I'll let you take that one over. Adam, you do the interview. Let's bring him over in just a second, and here we go.
Chris Sweeney, you got us, sir?
Yeah, I got you guys. You read me?
Loud and clear. Quite a eventful race for you. How'd it go?
Oh, you're telling me. Yeah, the beginning was fine. Sweating it a little bit with Berg behind me. I feel bad. I wanted to let him pass. I knew he had better pace, more consistent pace than I had, because I kept making mistakes trying to keep up with the top 2 up there. And I knew he was right behind me. And knowing he's my teammate, I knew he wasn't going to dive in too much. So I wish we were on chat so I could tell him, hey, just go by. So I tried to take it wide on that one of the last turns there, but didn't work out for him. I saw him kind of slide out in the back. I don't know where he finished, but yeah, then later on, I made a dumb mistake on that last carousel turn and twitched. I think I was looking in my mirrors again behind me to see how close the guy was, and yeah, I found myself in the sand out there, and it wasn't the same after that because I pit right away just to regroup. And after pit, I was a second a lap every lap behind, a second down. So I was running 37s in the beginning pretty consistently. And then it was 38s. And so then I was just always under pressure. And then I don't know if you guys caught the defense.
We did.
I defended for my life at the end for I don't know how many laps, but
We did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we just got off off the interview with Mike, hounding you for that position at the end, and that was quite the defensive drive, sir.
yeah, I'm sure I pissed him off pretty good, but it's all good. I got to reach out to him and tell him I look forward to racing him again.
Yeah,
So I don't think I lost too many positions, though, huh? I thought I could get third, but I think I finished 5th or 6th.
Well, we were following you for a while, and then you dropped from the leader for a bit. Like you and Maxwell that was behind you.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, again, there was an incident between Durite and Berg, which the stewards will look at it later. But
really?
there was, yeah. So, and then you guys dropped, and then I know you had some. I'm not sure if you had damage. It looked like your car might have some damage. There was maybe a bump or something from Maxwell behind. But yeah, basically for the last 10 minutes, I think you're just on full defensive all the way around. We're like, holy, he's not letting you through. This is Zandvoort, so it was still.
Was it Maxwell then?
Yes, Maxwell. Yes.
Okay, so and he was the one that was close to me and bumped me on turn 1 too, right?
I believe so because I saw you guys both dropped a little bit of pace from the leaders, and we didn't catch it because we're following somebody else, and all of a sudden we saw you just what happened, and his front end was damaged, so we figured that something happened, between you guys. So, but
and I can't believe I recovered it. I went off in the grass and I kept it straight somehow and got back on the track, but yeah, so he and I were pretty close the whole time. But yeah, it was definitely the damage. I think I had like 15 seconds of damage there in the pit that I turned off right at the last second. I almost forgot to turn it off. But
well,
I don't know. Might have been better to fix it.
Well,
I don't know.
It's still a top 5 finish. You held on, so congrats on that. That was a heck of
Right
a race
on.
from you guys. You put in a show there. Adam.
Heck of a race and a great start to the season, man. I got nothing else for you. Just wanted to congratulate you on a great first race of the season, and as a teammate, great job.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, we'll send you back to the race chat. Appreciate it, man.
Later, guys.
Later, man.
Yep.
All righty, send him back. Let's see if we find our race winner. Oh, there he is. Let's bring in Dudley Durite. Let's see what happened there. We'll talk about his point of view on a little bit of how his race out at the beginning, and then maybe what happened there towards won a little battle for P1. So let's bring him over to our cooldown. We want to get his point of view. So give you a second here. Got a couple of folks we can interview tonight. We got some time. All right, let's bring him over to our booth. Here we go. All right, Mr. Dudley Durite, can you hear us at the booth? Sorry if you brought you in. Don't want to scare you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, man. Well, first off, congrats on the win. That was a heck of a drive from you. You had amazing pace. You qualified first. Just wanted to get your take a little bit. How did the race go for you all around?
Oh man, it was good. I did a lot of preparation for this race to be able to get on the pole, and worked on a race setup as well to try to keep the tires cool and make them last for the whole hour. Felt pretty consistent throughout the thing. I had one little incident where I felt like I might have lost it there because Berg got ahead of me through the pit stops. And then through some unfortunate traffic, we ended up making a little bit of contact. We already talked about it though. He's not bitter about it or anything. He realizes it was a race incident and everything's good. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, we were actually following you guys. Was super close, and based on pit entry, I mean, we didn't catch Berg coming out of the pits. I mean, literally as he was coming out, we saw him ahead of you, and then you guys had major blue flag traffic going on there, and I'm sure it was affecting you guys' line or whatnot. And I think one of the blue flags wasn't letting you guys through. We're trying to figure out what's going on, and then there was a little bit of a tap. I mean, again, this is from our point of view, broadcasting point of view, but I mean, overall, your race, I mean, you led throughout, most of the race, anyways. So, I mean, next week we got Circuit of the Americas. How do you think you're going to do over there?
Yeah, that's going to be tricky. I have not turned a lap in this sim on that track at all. I have driven on that track in another sim. I can't even remember which one. So I don't even actually have that content for
You still need to
Competizione
pay
right now.
to race. You need to pay to race, man. You gotta
Yeah.
still purchase the American track, and you do
I
because you
gotta
gotta get Indianapolis and Watkins Glen as part of this whole season. So you'd be
Right.
dropping 3 rounds, and there goes your standing. So,
Yeah,
it
I'm
is when
definitely gonna do it. It's just I haven't gotten to it yet.
at least this is not iRacing, man, where you got to pay to play every track, and this is like one deal, you're good. So it's not too bad. So still, I mean, congrats, man. Adam, you got anything for Dudley?
No, just great race altogether, and for being the bigger man and going and talking to Berg right away. I know we saw that contact, and yeah, we're hoping maybe there wasn't going to be too much trouble from it, but I mean, obviously, just a strong drive from you. It shows that you put in the work this week to make sure you started out front and kept it there. So just great job.
Thanks, man. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it was fun. Even though I didn't have too much racing, definitely some of the blue flag stuff seemed a little confusing. It seemed like the guys were treating it like multi-class and waiting for us to find a way around. And it's like, we're in the same car as you. We can't find a way around if you don't get out of the way.
Yeah, and he was right at that sector too, which things can get kind of dicey with the not so straight but very flat out speeds. So it was kind of like interesting to see how you guys are kind of going by it. So. But, we don't want to take too much of your time. We'll send you back to the race chat. But again, congrats on the win, man.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too, man. All righty. Let's see who else do we have available. If we never bring anybody else, I was going to bring, I know a couple of folks that have their mics muted. Usually they do not have access to the mic, and I don't want to just bring them over as scared. But look at everybody's. I'm going to bring in Selena, just to get a little bit of her take on how did her race go. Let's bring in, because she had a bit of a race. If it wasn't for that pit stop, she would have probably finished way up front. So let's find out. Let's bring in, see exactly what happened there, and see what she thinks. And then she can give us a little bit of insight on what happened. It's funny, we're going to get on the boot back together, even though we did our broadcast last season. So let's see. Here we go. Selena, can you hear us here at the booth? Well, look at you.
Yes, I can.
Brought you right back into the booth, except as a driver. Look at that.
Oh, yes, indeed.
So,
I was not expecting to be up here. Nice.
Well, we were following around quite a bit. You had a pretty good battle going on. There was a heck of a move you did with a white scarver we caught on the stream. I was like, switch over there. I was like, well, he's not going to let me in on this corner. I will take the inside corner. And then, yeah, that was a heck of a move. But you were having a really good race. So talk to us a little bit of what happened on the pits. I know you probably don't want to explain, but I still have to ask you.
That's okay. So from last night's race, I was doing terribly with the left rear tires. So that only told me that, okay, I need to take tires. I have no choice but to take tires. If I do the full hour, I'm not going to survive. I'm going to drop pace significantly by a second. And I already was starting to do that. So at the half hour mark, I took tires.
Gotcha.
So it was half hour like with one set and another half hour with the second set. So pretty well. Had to fight.
Yeah, I mean overall, we were when we were looking at we don't know many drivers that took tires, so we thought maybe again like now we explained it better. But again, we were thinking maybe she made a mistake and took tires. I don't know because she was having such a great time up front. But you still finished up there again. You know, there was a little bit of a team finish there with Jess. That was nice to see. You guys are coming through the finish line. We caught you guys coming through. That was great. But
yep.
Do you think that's going to be an issue at Circuit of the Americas next week also, or that's like more like a Zandvoort kind of thing?
I'll have to see doing some like practicing and doing some stints. So I'll have to like see where that goes, but I probably may not take tires. I'll just do a quick splash and dash, but we'll see where it goes.
Awesome.
Wait it out.
Still, I mean, like I said, still amazing result. You still gain positions from your qualifying. So, I mean, that's why I just wanted to bring you in and also bring you back up in the booth where you will be tomorrow. Maybe, hopefully we trade places. I'll be in the race and maybe I make my way up here. I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah. I'll be watching you this time.
Right? So, Adam, did you have anything for Selena?
I guess just one question because I'm new to the booth and new to a lot of the drivers in here as well. But Raph told me early on that you race on controller now. Do you think that had anything to do with your tire consumption?
I truly do think it does because on a controller it's 0 to 100 with brake and throttle. So I can't do any tire management at all. So I had to bite the bullet with the tire change, unfortunately. But yep, I am on controller.
Well, I mean, still great result out of it. Still managed to climb back up the top 10 despite that, which is pretty amazing because there's a lot of people who had the option to save tires and yet they still had other issues that dropped them farther
Yeah,
back. So overall, I mean,
yeah.
great race.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
it
can
was
see.
fun.
Yeah, we can see at times, and obviously you can tell that you're on a controller. Sometimes as you're coming out of turns, you get a little bit twitchy,
Oh
and
yeah,
that's due
yeah,
to trying to
happens a
get
lot.
that going. Which like I said, in ACC being so picky with tire, obviously abuse, that probably does take a pretty good toll on your tires. So
It does,
yeah, but
especially tracks like this. It definitely does.
yeah, especially on like a maze, the guy going through Zandvoort, it's like you're going left, right, up and down, turn right here, left,
Oh yeah,
hairpin, 90-degree
Sector 2
turn.
was terrible for that. Let me tell you, it was a nightmare.
All right. Well, I just want to get your take. Don't want to take too much of your time. I'll go ahead and put you back on our D3 D4 race chat.
Alrighty.
But appreciate you joining in, and we'll
Yeah,
see you next race.
indeed.
All righty. And okay. Well, I think that's about it. We got quite a few interviews out of the way. But before we let you guys go, hope you guys enjoyed the stream. There was quite a few battles and things going on here tonight. We do want to go ahead and do our sponsor read, and I just do want to thank our SRA sponsors and title sponsors for supporting us at SRA, as well as support from Documise, which is a modern business solution for product management. You can go to documise.com to learn more about it today if you want to. We also have support from Retro Saga, a North American-based gaming company that provides accessories for your favorite classic systems, such as Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, and all the works. You can enhance your retro gaming experience today at retrosaga.ca. I'm a huge retro fan, and it's a really, really cool site to visit. And we also want to go ahead and give a big thank you to our affiliates. We have Track Racer, and you experience redefined gaming with Track Racer's high-quality sim rigs and accessories. You can use the code SRATE at checkout. You can give us support here to SRA. It doesn't cost you anything extra. It just basically help us support here our SRA community. Also, Armamentario is a toolbox for ACC that will enhance your chances to win. Enjoy a fully customizable and enhanced HUD to change the way you experience ACC. As we know, ACC's HUDs are not very customizable. So you can get Armamentario a try. And last but not least, Go Setups, our premium esports setups for everyone. You can use our affiliate link on our Discord, and you'll take your drive to the next level. And as far as that, Adam, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, to anyone still hanging in there, first of all, just thank you for sticking around for the whole broadcast. And again, thanks to SRA for having me on for the broadcasts for D4 this season. Reminder to everybody to go ahead and check out tomorrow evening will be a D2, D3, and D6 races. Don't miss out on that. Raf here is going to be going from broadcaster duty to driver duty, so don't miss that. We'll see how he does, and hopefully pretty well here at the virtual representation of Zandvoort.
Yeah, nerves will be kicking in tomorrow. We'll see. All right, folks, but I appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And with that, I will be closing out the stream, and we will see you guys again next week. We are Circo de Americas on Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And you guys have a good night. Thanks for tuning in.
Take care, everyone.